Hello to you, welcome to Focus. We're live on GBC News and also live on Unique FM 95.7. We're live across the 16 regions of this country on our various regional FM stations. On Facebook is Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. On the internet is gbcghanaonline.com. My name is George SAPOR and I welcome you to this Wednesday edition of Focus. Now, our guest, he serves as Ghana's Deputy Minister of Energy and Green Transition. He has been vocal advocates for integrating renewable energy solutions within public institutions, notably supporting the installation of solar panels on government buildings and schools to reduce electricity cost and, of course, promote sustainable energy practices. And he's joined us. So we're going to have a conversation with the Deputy Minister of Energy and Green Transition. We all understand the current conversation going on, issues concerning the missing 1,300 containers belonging to ECG. We're told by the Energy Minister that 40 of those containers have been found. We'll get further updates on that and other issues within power supply and how best that can also be resolved. Intermittent power outages that we've been experiencing for some time now. We'll also talk about it. And then we'll talk about green transition. What's the plan and what's Ghana's plan in actually going green? Having in mind that some are also advocating that, you know what, let's also see how best we can take the potential within the oil space here. First of all, we're going to start off with the video that intercepted those missing containers. After which we'll pick another video from the floor of Parliament coming from the minority leader as to some of the happenings in ECG. All of these regarding the missing containers. Let's take a listen and also watch. When we get back, we'll talk more. Stay with us.
During the transition period, it came to light at the transition that about 300 containers were stuck at the Tema Harbour because ECG had bought some containers through third parties and couldn't clear them.
Which one is that?
And so, on assumption of office, as minister, I visited the container terminal myself, where they call UCL, where containers that are not cleared are stocked. When I went, I was given a different figure of 2,500. I got alarmed. And so, as minister, I set up a committee to investigate the whole issues surrounding these containers. The committee submitted this report and indicated that contrary to the 2,500 figure that was given when we got to the port, 1,300 containers and over could not be accounted for, which means they were missing. Let me put on record that these things have been happening since 2019. And as you can see for yourself, based on where we went, it's a syndicate that has been operating for some years now. As minister, I've taken a decision to break this syndicate. We would chase everybody, pursue every organization that has been operating this cartel. Clearly, as you can see, these are ECG cables. They are meant to be used by ECG, but they end up in these factories and then they melt them in their smelter and produce aluminum rods. That is criminal. I've realized that some misguided element wants to play the NDC MPP politics. Let me assure them that is not going to work. As minister, I've sworn an oath, and it's my duty to ensure that the right thing is done. We would pursue them and ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. We will do everything we can to trace these containers because they have serial numbers, they have manifest. And let me thank the port authorities and the Director General of the Ghana Ports for cooperating with us and providing us with information. And also to thank the general public. They have been providing the security agencies with information that has led to the arrest of these people. Where we are here, as you can see from behind, a lot of ECG cables stuck in this warehouse, and they've all bolted. Indians and Chinese people, they've run away. So far, some people have been arrested, and we would ensure that the law takes its course. Why we have this problem is because if you look at the records, and I have the report here, in 2014, ECG's planned procurement was 1.397 billion. By the end of the year, they procured 8.2 billion. And so they engaged in frivolous over expenditure, procured items that they did not have money to clear, and that is what has brought us this far. The same with 2023. Their planned procurement was less than 1 billion. They ended up procuring 8.3 billion. That is more than 7.3 billion over and above what was approved for them. So if you look at the records, in 2022, they procured 1.3 billion. In 2023, they procured 8.3 billion. In 2024, they procured 8.2 billion. Way, way above what was approved for them. More than 700%. And so let me make it clear. Those who think that they can engage in political football, those who think they can use this to try and equalize, it will not work. Since 2019, this crime is being perpetrated on the state. The then government slept on it. This government will not allow this to continue. And as minister, I would ensure that we curtail this, we follow and apprehend those responsible, and retrieve the containers. In simple terms, I want my containers. Simple as that. And wherever the containers are, we'll trace them. And those we've apprehended, we'll not just prosecute them, we'll go to court and seek an order to sell those assets there to defray the cost so that we use that money to invest in the grid system and to make power delivery available and reliable. Thank you very much.
Minister, with respect to
ECG, I had the privilege of chairing the board in July. Because I'm a businessman, the first question I ask myself is that how can ECG award a contract? And when the contract is awarded, all the person does is deliver at the port, present bill of lading, and request for payment. I said, with the greatest respect, I don't want to use a word. This is Parliament. I was shattered. I said, how? And ECG would have to pay. So I realized that ECG was paying a lot of bills when they've not even had access to the goods. I said, why did he say, oh, Chairman, this is the practice since. This is the practice. And they will bring you document. I listened to Honorable Member for Sekondi, lawyer, you from Sekondi, question meeting. And I am adopting his submissions as though they were mine. The time has come. This politics, somebody says MPP, NDC, it's a system problem that I will any day support this minister to embark on reforms. How come containers at the ports, containers that have arrived, the bureaucracy at our ports, they say the containers are missing. Mr. Speaker, it is true that when these containers come, there is some connivance with some customs officials, and they sell these containers, these cables that ECG needs after the supplier has been paid. They sell the container, and then people resell back to ECG. Are we pretending we don't know? Instead of us to pay attention and kill the rots, then we come here, then MPP, NDC, so now they say, oh, maybe it's happening under MPP, it's happening under NDC. No. An honorable minister, I know what you can do. If we can give you support to do it, you must adopt a posture, a non-partisan posture, and tackle the rots. But if we all want to approach it, MPP, NDC, Mr. Speaker, it will remain. NDC will spend 4 years, 16 years, 20 years. The same thing will be there. They will come into opposition.
All right, welcome back. And the program is Focus. We are live on GBC News and also live on Unique FM and live across the 16 regions of this country. So our guest is the Deputy Energy and Green Transition Minister, Richard GYAN-MENSAH. Good morning to you, Honorable.
Good morning.
I hope you're good.
I'm doing very well.
How's it been for you? I mean, over the weekend and the holidays too.
First of all, we thank the president for actually giving us an additional holiday. But to us, the politician, even though it was an additional holiday, it was also time to spend, an opportunity to spend time with our people. So I just came from the conference this morning because I know I have this very important interview, so I have to carry right.
Thank you very much for joining us. Let's just start off with the ECG matter here. Is there any update to that? In terms of, we know that 1,300 containers were missing. We also know that about 40 of those containers were actually found. That was one video we played for the energy minister there. But further than that, any other updates?
First of all, I would want to take this opportunity to say a good morning to your viewers and then cherished listeners, and also greet the good people of Gomoa West. With the ECG issue, I think as of this morning, and over the holidays, a lot of issues came up. But I would want to reserve most of the things because the minister is fully in charge of the issues, and I would want that he would first come up with any updates that he has. And I believe this morning, by close of day, definitely the minister will come up with any information that he has gathered.
But you've gathered some information?
Obviously. Even when I was coming, people keep calling. But officially, you know, the security agencies have been tasked to undertake the investigation. So any information that comes, we relay the information to the security service to follow up on it.
There's also a letter making rounds from National Security to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority concerning evacuating around 760 ECG containers. I don't know whether that's also has come to your attention.
Yeah, I've seen the letter, one from the National Security to the Director of Ports, and then also I've even seen a letter from written by the former MD but all this, as I said, these are packet of issues coming up, and now we have to put everything together to be able to make a very good meaning, or maybe take a very decisive decision on the letters that are coming. You can't just pick a letter and just make a conclusion out of it. Already there has been a fact-finding report that is from the team, and the minister has also communicated on it, and he says he has relayed everything to the National Investigation Bureau is actually in charge. I know the police is also doing some, and other individuals who are also been tasked to do some information, because now it's like it's open up, so people are actually even coming up, volunteering, coming up with information. So all those things will be put together. Just when I was coming, I had to speak to Swedru, Aguna Swedru, District Police. Yesterday, a truck was actually intercepted with a bundle of wires, and so far the owners have not come. The police and the mates and the one mechanic have been arrested. So we can't just actually come out conclude with that. So this information I have relayed to the police to also make further investigation. I've called the Swedru ECG office to go and check whether those wires are also, or the cables are also part of the missing ones. So it's basically, I would say that it is early this morning, by maybe close of day, with all the information that have come up, we would have to put everything together and then address and update Ghanaians.
I mean, with all of these things happening, does it further strengthen the decision to bring some private experts into the operations of ECG?
So obviously, with the PSP, the private sector participation in the ECG activities, it doesn't necessarily mean that the private sector is going to take over ECG entirely. It is, we've always indicated that they have a role that the management, so when it comes to billing and then collection. Today, I know the team that the minister actually tasked to do some, with a committee, to work on the PSP would present their reports. I don't actually know what they are also suggesting in it. So I would just want to let Ghanaians know that at least at the base of it, the PSP is not to take over the entire ECG, but it's actually, we're assigned to some critical roles that has the required amount that we expect to get.
I mean, as you said, the report is yet to be presented, but some critical rules, like what?
So now, you know, when it comes to ECG, we've all complain about ECG running into a debt, and then ECG. I always say that ECG is like a star boy in the star boy SOE in the system. But somebody asks, is it for the good reason or for the bad reason?
Yeah.
However, it is one major asset of the country, very important asset of the country that we should all cherish and then protect. Their operation, we have all observed and then identify some lapses, especially when it comes to how do you say that you have distributed electricity to homes and then the collection is not up to what is expected? Or how do you say that you've collected this much but you fail to account for it fully? So obviously there are some issues that need to be addressed. And when we talk about the energy sector debt that is almost hovering about over 80 billion, you can actually center it and see that even ECG in all, if you talk of even the VRA, if there's any debt in VRA, they will also link up to ECG owing them. If you go to Gridco will say that ECG is owing them. Even when you go to, today, this morning, I heard even GRA, the GRA, that's Ghana Revenue Authority, so crying loud that ECG is owing them. So it's like ECG owing everywhere. So it is important that we actually attend to it and then make sure that these issues, the lapses are all curtailed. So I would say that bringing on board the PSP, I've heard people complain about, oh no, we don't want to privatize it. It is not privatization.
There's some aspects of the private.
It is just bringing in the private sector to come and play a key role to support the operations of ECG.
Usually when you hear such things, my question is that what is it that that private person will do different that the same Ghanaian working in ECG or the public sector cannot do?
You know, it has to do more of a work culture where the individual, which shouldn't be the case, where the individual feels that something that belongs to the private person, it's somebody's property, and that person has a full oversight, checking everything to make sure that you don't actually go wayward. But when it comes to things that are of government, everybody feels, oh, it is our own. There used to be the saying that, oh, Abai Japadi one, like that is something that belongs to Abai Juma, that is government work. You don't actually carry it, you put it on your shoulder. So when you are tired, you just push it aside. This is what actually has been embedded in most Ghanaian workers. So anything that belongs to government, people have a way of how they look at it.
So it's a mindset.
Yes, the mindset. So we all need to, there should be a paradigm shift. We have to move away from it. It's just the same as government workers. Sometimes you go to private sector work and when they are late for work, you see the haste with which everybody wants to get to work. When it's about government work, but this is something that we shouldn't be having that discussion. We won't move far beyond it. Other countries are, in other countries, you see that the government sector is even more proficient than the private sector.
Yes.
And that is why
that's supposed to be,
in the wisdom of the President, His Excellency John Mahama, you can see that even currently we have a Minister of State in charge of public sector reform. So this ministry, I believe, would also work in tandem with other ministries to ensure that this mindset and this work culture is actually also changed. So when the private sector comes in, let me give you a typical example. We currently have people who have meters in their houses who are not paying electricity bill.
Prepaid meters?
No, meters either prepaid, okay, so what do you call the postpaid meters, who are not paying electricity, not because they don't want to pay, but even somebody to come and take the meter reading and bring them bill for the past 2 years. When you go to our rural areas, especially during the elections, and you can see that a lot of meters were brought into the system just to score some political points. And these people have actually fixed these meters, they are connected and getting the power. However, they are not paying electricity.
Some of these are prepaid or postpaid?
These are postpaid. Postpaid
the ones that they've fixed.
Even they are prepaid meters, which for several years maybe develop some fault or something that hasn't been a follow-up. Let me use myself as an example. I always say this. In 2021, I actually moved to my new place in 1st January 2021. Before, there were some gentlemen living in my house for almost about a year. So this is what I have. Every month, I send them money to to buy electricity, the prepaid, so at least the place would be lit.
Right.
Because I was then doing a campaign, so I wasn't focusing. So I went there. A week before I went in, I sent them 1,000 Ghana cedis to buy power. So I didn't check. When I went, after a month, I was expecting that maybe the meter would have basically consumed it. So I just checked and I realized that the meter has not read that much. So quickly, I went to ECG office and reported that I've checked my meter over a month now. I see that there's almost about 900 and something, which means that it is, because I've been there for a month.
If you actually spend like
so at least I should be able to spend more than 100 Ghana cedis.
Within a month?
Within a month.
You went to
I personally went to the ECG office.
Oh, okay.
Nobody came. Oh. I did a second time. So the third time, I went there and I was very furious. I said, So for three months, I realized that it was still the 990. Then I have to go there one day to tell them, Master.
And you still had power?
I still had power.
And you had your
so for 3 months,
running.
If I had even 1,000 on it, it had not read. Before, so when I reported, I left. I was there when I was called that ECG had come to my premise and then they want to check. So I said, no, there was no one in the house. Because a neighbor called me. So I would come in the next day, they should meet me. The next day they came and said, they have used a 10, you owe about 3,000. I said, Master, this is about the third month that I have reported. So because I possibly want to be a very responsible citizen, I came in to report this. What about the other, somebody who also feels, okay, this is a gain for him or her.
Exactly.
So even so, in this discussion,
confusion, and the person will be told that he owes 3,000. Go like, how?
How do you want to give me a flat rate? Because obviously, I decided, because I have a policy that every month, what I pay on it. So sometimes you check and maybe I have almost about 3,000 on it, even though, because I try to pay, because the month that I don't have money, I know that at least I have power. So these are some, so I use myself as an example that I have experienced it. There are places in my constituency where in the past, you'll be there one day and they come and say, ECG has come disconnecting and a local farmer is owing 20,000. How can a local farmer owe 20,000? This is because almost for 6 years, nobody had come to give them bill. And they have used the light for almost 6 years. So one day when you come, it becomes difficult for the people to bear. So it is important that we get people who get in there. At least you can demarcate. I don't know what the PPP, the suggestion they're going to give, but I am of the view that, let's say, the whole of Akanda is actually demarcated and somebody is dedicated to making sure that the billing and the collection. So whatever power comes in Akanda, probably there will be a boundary meter who tells the amount of power that has been sent to Kanda area. So at the end of the day, you are expected to collect an amount that actually corresponds to what has gotten here, or you have to bill to that amount. And this would ensure that there's efficiency. Most of the times, the losses that we record in terms of ECG, I believe that these are things that we can easily stop. And once that is stopped, it would even help to even bring down tariff. Because in the tariff computation, nobody will actually do a computation and will not factor in losses. So if the losses are actually brought to the, to maybe lower, the losses are brought to the barest minimum, it's also will translate to the tariffs that we actually pay, because the tariff then now will go down. Because the factor what they factor in there, I know there's always an allowed power. Obviously, there should be an allowable
margin of loss there.
Margin of loss that should be at least be considered. But in terms of those that are people actually pray with it, or what people actually instigate, if it is curtailed, it will help us in the long run.
That brings me to the availability of the power itself. We've been experiencing some on and off here. I know Kumasi has called a different story altogether, but a lot of people have been experiencing on and off. What's going on? Are we still having challenges?
I think with the Kumasi issue and the greater Kumasi area, about 2 weeks ago, my Minister Honorable John Abdullahi Jinapor was at Kumasi to ensure to actually look at the situation in Kumasi and to see how well they would resolve the issue. The Ameri plant now, addition has been some of the power, the generation has been increased. They are also working on some lines, which I'm very sure that maybe within by next week, we'll actually go there and see the situation, because there's a major work going on in Kumasi, which is going to help address the challenges in Kumasi. But obviously, this is what I would say. The current intermittent power outages that we record are basically not what is usually called the doomsday. This is because we have adequate power generation, and we have also adequate transmission and distribution. However, you know, as we have very aged technology in terms of our energy infrastructure, and then we are actually experiencing some challenges technically. Others also has to do with operational challenges. Just yesterday, somebody called to ask that why is it that any time that it rains, the power goes off? And I said, okay.
We're almost expectant of that when it starts raining, the power goes off.
They are also, I think in the power system, they also have some automatic power adjusters in there, where such that when it's raining and then the system detects a fault somewhere, obviously it actually also shut down the light, so that there wouldn't be any issue with electrocution and all those things. So in terms of the infrastructure, we are currently doing a lot of work on it. This government is very, let me say, it's quite young in terms of, we just came in the last 3 months, and we put in a lot of effort in addressing all the challenges with respect to the energy area and also basically on the electricity. So there are a lot of works being done on the power lines. There are also new ones that are going to be worked on. Places like Chado, for instance, I have consistently received a lot of reports. I called the ECG, called the director of power, ECG, even MD. Yesterday, I spoke with the ECG MD, and I had a discussion on him on some of these issues, and he actually assured me that a place like Chado, he has sent some guys there. There's one, Francis Achacha from ECG. He's doing so well. Anytime that you call him on an issue, he so actually attends to it swiftly. But this is not, you know, I cannot receive all calls to help address them.
So it's not that we are experiencing
so it is just, no, we are not experiencing doomsday.
And it's not that we don't have
money
to buy fuel.
It is not also that, no. When it comes yesterday, I think my minister spoke and indicated since we came in, we've been able to procure about $200 million worth of liquid fuel. And this is what I know, maybe going forward, the minister is also has been looking forward to a situation where we can get an alternative to the liquid fuel. This is where the renewable energies come in, and then also the need for us to get an additional gas processing plants that would help us get regular flow of gas, because obviously the cost of gas is relatively cheaper as compared to liquid fuel. And in some of the discussion, he mentioned that the budget for this year, the fuel budget for this year to power electricity is in the range of over $1.3 billion. And out of it, almost over $800 million is to the liquid fuel, whilst about $500 million is to gas. So we are looking forward to where we can get additional gas processing plants, so that the over-dependence on the liquid fuel will go down. And when we depend on the gas, obviously the cost will go down, which can also translate into our tariffs build up as well.
So the argument is that, I mean, with those power challenges we are having, it's got to do with
now I just
old equipment or stations that have equipment that are old, so it's not able to.
So basically, it is not all that has to do with, you know, I must say that successive governments have actually done so much work in terms of retrofitting our lines and also making sure that we have even current technologies in the mix. However, obviously there are some which also need to be still. That's why it's a continuous work that we are doing. I know there are some places where when you go to new development, for instance, in the last 5 years, an area that could have used maybe 200 volts or kV of transformer now require almost about 750. So when the 250 is available, it means that they may not actually enjoy stable power. And I also
we don't have a problem with generation. That shouldn't be a problem.
So there's no problem with generation.
Yes.
But these are some of the things that we are looking at. But it's very unfortunate that the same materials that now will need to also fix some of these issues our very good friends, I don't know if the enemy, the devil has tempted them too much that what will actually inure to our good, they are taking personal interest and maybe becoming very selfish and selling them.
You're referring to the stolen containers?
Yes. I'm just saying that. So we have some of this. These are some of the things that we need to address, the challenges that we are facing. Some lines need to automatically be changed.
Yeah.
So if there's wires or cables that will use them, people are actually stealing them, then it's like they're not helping the situation. So for what I want to let Ghanaians understand is that there is nothing like Dumso.
Okay.
Yes, we may, maybe I wouldn't want to put it in the form that, yes, we may have some pockets of intermittent.
Dumso is on and off, right?
Yeah, so Dumso in the local balance is on and off. But see,
if there
in this context,
but
in this context of Dumso, as in what we know, in terms of referring to the situation, our power situation, is not. It's actually the Dumso is naturally in construct to what we actually the balance, the local balance. What we mean by Dumso, where because in our Dumso season, you actually have a schedule. You know, today you are going off for like 12 hours. Okay. You know, your light is going off for like maybe 6 hours or even 2 hours. In this case, sometimes it's only when there's a major problem that maybe you can even experience more than 2 hours. Just about last week, around the East Lake, is it Baoleshi area, Trinity Theological College area, after the rains, the storms that came, most electricity poles actually went down with the wires hanging. Obviously, this one cannot be faced within an hour. So people within that area may experience it within some certain number of hours. But even that, we made sure that we've actually followed through and the issue was resolved. Just also over the weekend around the lakeside area,
Estate, yeah.
I was sleeping midnight around 4:30. I received a call that there's one of the transformers has actually caught fire and the whole place is gone off. And somebody called me that they are trying to reach ECG because the person knows me.
Okay.
He called me at that middle of the night. I have to call ECG officials to quickly move in. Obviously, it took the next morning before the issue was resolved. So when you experience some of those things, you cannot say it is Dumso. Then places where the voltage is a bit low, we have asked the ECG in the various districts to also do some compilation for us to know areas where they need to do some work with the low voltage, where there will be the need for us to change transformers, if the lines have to be changed or be augmented. These are also things that we're currently working on. It's been, I must say that within the period that I have been in the office, almost just about within just 2 weeks officially, even though I used to visit the office when my name was actually, when the Excellency the President nominated me. So I have actually abreast myself with most of the challenges within the area. And I must say my minister have done so well. Within this period, if I look at what he's been able to do, I see actually makes sense out of why the president had reposed that confidence in him. And
he's been doing a lot even when he was in opposition.
Yes. So he's done so much.
We get to understand
I believe that with the support of Ghanaians, we'll do better.
Then there's the addition of green transition. What's the whole plan of that green transition to the ministry? So
the whole green plan, green transition is, the green transition is just a paradigm shift. We want to just gradually move away from the dependence on the fossil fuel energy generation to more renewable energies like solar, like wind, like biomass, and then biofuel, and any other renewable means that we can generate power. And there's always this global call for us all to actually help the environment and also the climate. Yes. And it's not just that. When you see, when with the renewable energy coming into force, Ghana, for instance, I always say that when we talk of renewable energy, we always leave out the hydro. Hydro is also part of it. So even though we want to look at the solar and the other ones, Ghana, when you look at, we are very much dependent on the hydro. Gives us, in terms of the single capacity, it gives us more, but we have some thermal to support. It is our plan that by close of...
the thermal plays a critical role.
Yes, thermal...
Because if the thermal goes, so there's no way the hydro can support everything.
So currently, Ghana is also looking at, in terms of moving to... Currently, we have some renewable energy in our mix, almost about 3% of, beside hydro. So we have some solar, we have the, when you go to my constituency, we have the mine energy, we have the BXC. Actually, my constituency is the first place to hold the commercial solar farm in Ghana. So we have the mine energy, we have the BXC, we have the hydro, the floating hydro at Bui. And then I know there's some also coming up on the Ada area, which are all going to support. We are looking for, currently our energy coverage is about 89%, and we are looking forward to, by the end of this year, getting to about 90% of energy coverage. And we want to look at the renewable energy. So between now to the next 5 years, by 2030, we are looking at